up, everybody? Welcome to another post-game report, the Atlanta Falcons post-game report with the Fish and Grits podcast, or excuse me, Fish and Grits, the podcast. We will be talking about the Falcons' second win of the season. Raheem Morris's second win as our head coach, and a fairly impressive game, if I do say so myself. Even though I find myself rooting for a loss and draft position here lately, it's always nice to see, a lot of the young guys come together, a lot of the pieces come together and result in a win. What do you guys think of the game?
Well, yeah, I talked about it. I actually love the way the defense played outside of, the first drive they did, that I wasn't frustrated about that. It was a couple penalties that kept the drive going on defense, but and then they wound up punching it in. The Curtis Samuel long touchdown pass was frustrating, but I mean it was following a turnover, so that's typically what happens. Defense gives up a big play after the offense turns the ball over. But other than that, I mean, defense played great, in my opinion. We blitzed a lot, he mixed it up. You didn't know which linebacker was coming. Put a lot of pressure on Teddy Bridgewater, made him make some quick decisions, make some bad decisions. And the only real complaint I had as far as the defense was that 3rd and 17 on that on their last drive. Like, bruh, stop on those possessions. That's where you probably need to blitz the most. Stop rushing 3 and dropping 8 in coverage, because we always get burned in those scenarios.
So what you're saying is you liked the game?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed by what I saw. Just in terms, the only thing we sort of didn't do great was, I guess, just like score on every opportunity that we had. And yeah, that turnover was pretty bad by Matt, but I'll chalk it up to wind and rain, even though it was just bad. But it was just impressive to see not only the play calling, like things happened that we wanted to happen when we wanted them to happen this game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like things like Micah said, like they were bringing blitzes when usually they just play that soft prevent, and it looked like they were about to do that towards the end. But then like on the second down, the third down, they sent blitzes and it worked. You know what I mean? Towards the end. And then also the play calling, is just a lot more unpredictable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of good actions. I don't know if the Carolina defense is just that bad, but we were exploiting that zone. Yeah, we were exploiting that zone defense very well, and Matt was finding everything, and it just looked how we thought we were going to look. And the second year with Matt having a second year to play under an offensive coordinator, so it's actually pretty disheartening. And I could see it in Matt's face at the end of the game when he was like, "Yeah, we got to win," but
got a little smirk.
Yeah, it was like not even. It was more like a nervous tick. Like, damn, like it's fucking.
Am I gonna fumble this?
No, but I feel like he feels like we do. It's like, okay, yeah, we won, but we're 2-6. Like, we're really not playing for anything.
You know what I mean? Unless we win out, yeah.
Don't say that. We're not winning out.
We're not. I mean, I know we're not, but I'm saying that's the only way we're playing for anything.
Well, the funny thing is, if we miraculously won out, we actually probably make the playoffs.
Oh, we were at 10-6. We most definitely would.
Yeah,
I mean, you're sounding like crazy right now. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not. No one's saying they're gonna do that, but I'm just saying at 10-6, you would most definitely make the playoffs.
Oh, for sure. Even at 9-7, you could make the playoffs this year potentially. But
so yeah, I mean, we went up to Carolina, and we like you said, we did what we were supposed to do all season, and that's fly around on the field on defense, make plays, keep people in front of you, and make good tackles. And on offense, be an efficient offense with a good, run to pass mixture. And it's like, yeah, just like you said, it's nice to see, but it is frustrating. So on the day we came down, we converted 28 first downs. We had 401 total yards of offense. We had 9 total drives. So that's an efficient offense. Very right efficient. There. Yeah. They put up that many yards, put up that many first downs and 9 drives. That's I mean, every time we hit the field, we were taking 5 to 7 minutes off the clock.
And that's also big on our defense, just to show that they could, actually do their job and keep those possessions rolling. Like they said in the game, that a lot of our high stats are because our defense was just, not on the field. They'd just be on the field for such a short amount of time and allow us to get so many more possessions. So it's crazy that we were able to accomplish what we did today in just 9 drives.
It neutralized their running game too. That was the big thing. Even though their running game was effective because they were averaging almost 7 yards a carry, they felt the pressure of having to respond, and they, Teddy I think threw 10 passes in the first half, something like that, but he also scrambled for about 4 more. So there was like 14 dropbacks to pass to I think it was 7 rushing. So their formula to win is run first, pass second. So our offense really negated their offense, and it allowed our defense to really catch a blow and stay fresh on the field for longer. The first quarter was a bit worrisome as we came out. We stalled in the red zone, and then we turned around and really shot ourselves in the foot all the way down the field on defense and allowed them to score there. And I think all of us in the chat were kind of like, okay, here we go. We're about to, really, really mess this one up again, because a really bad penalty by Oliver.
Yeah.
Oliver on the sideline, and then the late hit, which
questionable.
Yeah, the hit came right as his foot landed out of bounds. So
right,
it's kind of silly. So what I'll do is I'll go through some big plays in the first half, and we'll kind of talk about the first half. I don't want to go quarter by quarter because that'll take forever.
And it's confusing. It's confusing.
You guys can chime in where you want to. So what we saw was the human wrecking ball on defense. Keon O'Neal came through and what looked like broke one of Kendall Sheffield's ribs as he was going to make a hit there on I believe that was Anderson who had caught it coming across the middle and just laid out Sheffield by mistake. Then that followed up by a Curtis Samuel run for about 15 yards.
Which one's the one where he shook the soul out of Keanu Neal?
I think that was that same drive.
Yeah.
Mike Davis, little pass catch in the flats and shook Keanu Neal right out his boots. But what we did see there is what Micah had talked about earlier was more exotic looking defensive fronts from the defense. Ulbrich really has improved the way this defense looks and plays, and gets rid of some of those pre-snap reads from the other quarterback. Makes it a little more confusing as to what we're going to be doing. We also saw a lot more pressure from the linebackers, a lot of blitzing, like we've stated before. Obviously, the Falcons staff listens to our podcast and has taken our advice and blitzed Dion a lot more. What'd y'all see from Dion and the blitz packages that you saw in that first half that you really liked or disliked?
I like them mixing up Oliver in there. I know Oliver had a huge sack. But yeah, Debo had a sack too, or he had some QB hits. He had a couple QB hits.
He had a sack.
I just loved it. It hurts, man. It's to say that I loved it because I've been wanting to see this and they've hurt me so much. It's like, it's like when someone lets you down so much and they finally do something right. And it's like, it's worth that much more because they've been messing up so bad. But we got to temper that. But at the same time, it just looked so refreshing to just watch a game of competent football. Mm-hmm. And that knowing the talent, especially like Debo's been like underutilized all season. And it's almost like it comes down to, is he being underutilized or is he just not that good anymore? And then we see in this game that it's like, okay, he's still who we thought he was. You know what I mean?
He explodes off the ball still.
Right.
I mean, I agree. Like I said, I couldn't. I think I really liked it. Blitzing Debo more is so huge, and considering like he's so fast, he shoots the gap so quick. Which if a guard or a center doesn't know you're blitzing, he's so fast that it gives them very little time to try to get in front of them, which makes easy pressures on the quarterback. And Foyer is the Foyer too, like those double A gaps, like you line them up double A gaps, and the center and guard don't know which one of them is coming or if both of them are coming, and they're both so fast, so explosive, they can run by the blockers and be in your quarterback's lap immediately. So I mean, I love that. Like I said, like Marco talked about the Oliver blitz off the edge. Love that. It was we put more pressure on Teddy than just about any team I've seen this season. And they were talking about how he's number 2 in completion percentage behind Drew Brees, and we made it hard for him to complete passes because somebody was almost always in his face. So yeah, I mean, I really, really enjoyed how we got after him.
It's what Ulbrich seems to be doing is making Grady's job easier as well, because we don't have that guy next to him to take a lot of that pressure off of him and really, generate a second pass rush on the inside from the defensive line standpoint. He's decided to blitz the middle more. So when you blitz that second level a lot up the gut, or even off the nickel package as well, that's going to take a tackle or a guard over there to pick that up. It now puts Grady one-on-one with whoever he has in front of him. So you're allowing Grady to eat, but you're also sending these speedy players up the gut or off the edge to put pressure on them. So it's like, where's this been, man? The crazy thing is, it's one play that I always reference with you guys, and it was so effective dating back to that 2016 Super Bowl run against the Packers. What did we do against Russ and against Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
Debo up the middle,
packages, yeah.
Pull off the edge, mix it up, throw it all in everywhere. And it just if you can beat Aaron Rodgers with those packages, you can get a lot of quarterbacks with that.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's so much speed on this defense. There's so much speed, and it just what Dan Quinn's idea was, just use that speed horizontally and backwards instead of attacking the quarterback.
Right. Because just sort of like an insurance thing. I think there was too much like fail safes involved in Dan Quinn's philosophies. There's too much hedging and not enough like going for what actually is effective in impacting the game. And that I sent that quote to y'all. Like Dirk Cutter literally said in the press conference before, he was like, the defense dictates where the ball goes on offense. And I'm like, what kind of mentality is that? It's like, no,
it's the truth.
It is, but at the same time, it's like you got the weapons and you have to sort of dictate the tempo of the game in essence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump on him too much for that, because I mean, when you have 2 elite players on offense, like an elite quarterback that has like arm talent like Mahomes wise or like Aaron Rodgers wise, and you have an elite receiver like Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams, and then Mahomes has 3 of them, really, that's when you can really dictate what the defense can do. But in our case, when you just have elite Julio and really good Matt's going to take what you give him and not allow Julio to, do what Julio could do, really. And, what we think he could do, because we've never seen it. We've never seen what Julio could do with like a Mahomes or like an Aaron Rodgers who can, or a Russell Wilson, even in that case, who can extend plays and still throw the ball 60 yards in the air on a dot.
Right. But I feel like that just him saying that right there was sort of a cop out as to why, because when you say that as a winning team, then yeah, it's true either way. Right. But at the same time, it's like I think it's a cop out when you haven't been executing.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't want you always want to impose your will on the defense.
Exactly.
But the defense also wants to impose their will on you.
Right.
So.
I mean, they get paid too, right?
Right. All right. So second quarter, that was where you saw the interception by Matt, where he overthrows Ridley. Watching it live, I felt a way. I was like, God, man, come on, that's a terrible throw. But there was pressure in his lap. Dante Jackson is not a slow or Dante Jackson can maybe lack in coverage sometimes, but what he is a ball hawk. He's been that way ever since LSU. But then Micah, we saw the flea flicker play there that really looked like they were about to break the game open. What did you see on that play?
I mean, I think Troy Aikman said it best. Ultimately, what happened is Rico got stuck in the middle way too long, and he saw it too late, and he almost made a play, but it was because he saw it just too late. He would because if he had seen it right out the gate, it probably Samuel probably wouldn't have even been open on that play, but because he saw it a little bit late, it was, he was able to drop it. And granted, it was literally a dime by Teddy Bridgewater. So it was the one big play, which typically, like I said, after you turn the ball over, your opponent is going to take a shot, and that was it. And they hit perfect.
Rico even got a fingertip on it. I mean, he was there, but I think that's a combination of 4.3 speed at receiver and then a perfect throw.
Yeah.
And that flea flicker gave him that, that fraction of a second, that he would have got there had he, but that flea flicker is always able to be explosive for some reason. Like, it's like never fails. It's just, and every time those situations comes up, it's always just, will the receiver catch it or not? That's usually
I think we tried to run it and it did not go that well.
Yeah, we ran it one of the earlier games this season, didn't we?
Wasn't that when the receiver threw it to the receiver and he dropped it?
Are you talking about Gage to Julio? No, that was just
wasn't that a
Wildcat.
flea flicker?
No, that was Wildcat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember a flea flicker then. When did we run?
I think we did for some reason, or maybe I'm thinking Florida State.
Yeah, I remember us using it at least once, and whether it was this season or last season or something, but yeah, it didn't go well.
Well, it usually goes well. I feel like every time you see that in a game, it's usually for a long, or at least a connection, like a possible connection. Like I said, it's just about whether the receiver catches it or not.
Yeah. After that, though, I think that put them up 14-6 or 14-3. I don't remember what it was.
14-6.
So 14 they go up 14-6 in the flea flicker. We come back out on the field. We get another long drive. And then that's where you see the Matt Ryan scramble where
came out of nowhere.
I mean, that's got to be one of the longest touchdown runs in Matt Ryan's career because that was close to 20 yards.
It was 13-yard run.
13? Okay.
Wait, he ran for 14 in the NFC Championship game against the Packers.
For a touchdown, though?
Mm-hmm. That scramble he had right up the middle against the Packers, I believe it was 14 yards.
Well, they said, that's what they said. They said it was his longest of his career.
Yeah.
They said 13.
But on that drive is where we saw Ridley go down with an injury. They said it was an ankle injury, but it looked like he was grabbing at the arch of his foot.
Yeah.
Which concerns me that it could be like a Liz Frank injury, which done for the year. So,
yeah. Surgery. You got to have surgery. That's done.
Yeah.
He couldn't even stand up.
Right. They kept saying ankle, and I was looking at the way he was walking. He was able his for those who have had ankle injuries, you know what one looks like, and he was flexing his ankle as he walked, but when he would plant, he would pick his foot up flat and then move it.
Right. With an ankle injury, you can't really put any pressure on.
No, you're either holding your entire foot up or you're literally picking your whole leg up. So to me, I think you're going to hear it's some type of foot injury, and with a receiver that can be, ask Julio. Right. That's not a good sign, especially with someone as precise as Ridley is, which really sucks because I pray that it's not a long-term injury. I pray it's not something like that because he's having a career year and he's so important to us. But if that's the case, you'll have to see Gage step up or, move Christian Blake outside full-time and leave Gage in the slot. Yeah. But Matt Ryan goes down, scores. We go down 13 to 14. Come back. Defense gets really aggressive at that point. That's where you see that big play. It's essentially the Panthers come down, get a third and 1. Fowler makes a big play. They decide to go for it, and that's where you saw my boy Foye chase Teddy out to the perimeter and get a stop there. I'm going to say this right now. Even though Debo and Kiki have had their resurgence as of late, I think Foye has been the most or second most important player on this defense the entire year, and most consistent, I would say.
Yeah, consistent, definitely.
He's been it's kind of hard to give a defensive MVP on a team that struggled defensively, but he's been the one who's made the least amount of mistakes. The only game I remember him really making any kind of mistakes was the Packers game where he let their tight end, he let him get behind him a couple one or two plays.
Was that the combat role play?
No, that it wasn't that one. That was on the safety, the backup safety we put in.
Oh yeah.
This play was a play action. He sucked up too far. He got sucked too far up into the line, got caught up a little bit, and winds up giving up a touchdown pass to, I believe it was touchdown. So
So if we can keep this core together on defense with Debo and Foye, that's a very promising linebacking core. Get one more line on the piece on the defensive line. Let the corners age and get a little more experience, and we'll see what we can do. But after that stand right there is really what changed the game in our favor, because we followed that up with driving down the field and getting a field goal, and then going into the half up 16-14. So huge first half for the defense, multiple stands, even though we started off the first half slow. I want to ask you guys something, though, because I was watching it, and I think this is part of the reason that the game plan adjusted as it did. But because of the heavy rains, and anybody who's ever played football in the rain knows that footballs soak up water like nobody's business. And with an older quarterback like Matt, who already has a weaker arm, how much do you think that weighed into Cutter's mind in calling those plays, and a lot of Matt Ryan's decisions on what he chose to do with the ball in that first half, with how heavy a football can get when it soaks up that much rain?
Well, I can't say while I was watching I really was considering it, because I thought that he was just, he was dealing, you know what I mean? He was definitely hitting his receivers. And I know it picked up in the second half, and that's when they started. Wait, are we still talking about the first half or what?
Mm-hmm. This is now the end of the first half.
The end of the first. And then, so him running, obviously, when he saw nothing open, he took that opportunity, probably because, he knew he threw the pick, right? So he's already sort of in his head a little bit. And I'm sure that pick had a lot to do with him handling a wet ball. I think it definitely, impacted his decision-making and led to better decision-making, because I know a lot of times when you're more cautious, you make better decisions. So I think we saw a little bit of that for sure.
I think ultimately it made a big, between the interception and the weather, I think he dialed it back a little bit. And one of the things I've sometimes am critical of on Matt is sometimes he looks for the big play first, and wants to go downfield with it. I think he was more willing to take, to look for the intermediate stuff and the underneath, because there were plenty of times where it was just like, all right, hit the running back and get him, allow him to make a play, get the ball out of your hands quick, let your skill players make plays. There were a couple, instead of trying to throw the ball over the top of the defense, it was, let me hit Julio on this end just past the first down marker. It was a lot more safer, smarter decisions as far as let's try and get a big play here. It was just let's get what we need, keep moving these chains.
I mean, it was good decision making all around, except for that one play where he took the risk to Ridley, and I can't really blame him for that. I don't know. I wasn't. After going back and watching it a few times, I was not mad about the play. It was just.
I do want to say though, just the way I love the way that the first play of the game was a big shot down the field. I love that, and I was like, wow, that is so unlike anything we've seen, and it set the tempo for okay, they need to fear. I'm sure it put a little bit of oh shit in the defense. Okay.
Well, that is exactly what I was about to lead into, is how we took our best weapon and imposed him early, and how big of a factor that was for that defense the entire game. Because you pass it to Ridley early, they're going to go, okay, yeah, we can give you that. But if you get Julio Jones going early, and I mean, I think he had 60 yards in the first quarter.
4 catches, yeah.
Yeah, that's in the defense's mind. Oh boy, especially a team like the Panthers where Julio dominates the Panthers. That is his team. And those cornerbacks know that history. They do. The coaches have talked to them about that. And they're like, oh, we're not going to be the ones that let up these yards. And boy, you get him out there early and get 3 catches in a row on a team. They said it about Dante Jackson. They said he was playing nervous, and there's a good reason to play nervous when you're a Panthers cornerback guarding number 11. So
get 300 yards dropped on your head.
Yeah, quick. I mean, if we wanted to go that way, we could have kept forcing Julio the ball because he was open most of the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing I wanted to comment on the first half is, I don't know if you've noticed this season, but anytime we get a player going in a game, they typically go down with injury. Now, granted, we've been hurt, banged up all over the place, and most teams have because of this COVID shortened season. But if you think back throughout the games, like Denard, when he was playing really well at corner, Ridley went down the last time we were playing the Panthers, and he was playing well. Gage gets going, he goes down. Ridley again in this game, he gets dinged up. Kiki goes down. It's like we can't keep a consistent team together on the field. And granted, football is a game of injuries, but I don't think I've ever seen a season like this where it's so consistent with you're almost guaranteed for a big time player to go down in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it's been rough.
So we gave up 14 points in the first half. Pretty good half by the defense, but the second half is where really Ulbrich flexed his defensive brain. He really got there and shut things down for the Panthers. We only surrendered 3 points in the second half, and there were tons of 3 and outs, 4 and outs. The exception being the special teams play where they ran a fake punt,
right.
And we even came out expecting it, but the delay game that pushed him back to a 4th and 9
took us off guard.
Yeah, I mean, who's really going to expect that? But
right, that's like the kind of thing. If that doesn't get converted, it's like, are we firing you after this game?
That's like the 4th and 5 that we attempted last week. It's like,
right.
But the big thing in the second half to me that I noticed was Fowler came alive in the pass rush a little bit more. Kiki was all over the place, and he was inspired, man. That hit he laid on Mike Davis on that little halfback screen over to the left side, which I still think is a fumble. Mm-hmm. I don't care what they say.
In the old NFL, that's a fumble.
I mean, what is a football move when you literally catch, take 2 steps, and you tuck and turn?
I think it's because he never really gained his bearings. I think that's what they sort of
I think
go
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
They were saying his second foot hit the ground as he got hit. So it was there was 2 steps, but legitimately it was like the second step was hitting the ground and he was getting hit at the same time. So they were like, yeah, it legitimately didn't really get two steps.
There's too many inconsistencies
the ball was
on how they
out.
rule like footing and like what's a catch and what's not a catch, and just like
I mean that's like a lot
depends
of
on where it is on how
it's
they
bothersome the discretion sometimes of the ref. Like not only with that, but then also that one play where Matt Ryan, like the play was over and he just got pushed and we didn't get a flag there.
Oh yeah, on the blitz.
Down.
Yeah, he got smacked.
Yeah,
he didn't get pushed. He got smacked.
Right, and it's like in half the games we watched, that'd be a roughing the passer.
Hell, we got one called on his last game.
Right,
on Stafford.
Right.
So
so those discretionary calls are tough.
Inconsistency did fall in our favor on one play though. That the one where Matt underthrew a Hurst and Hurst catches it, but the ball hits the ground.
But that was a catch though.
Yeah, he had his hand under that one. That one
he did, but his right hand came off the ball. As a Falcon fan, I never trust refs because we oftentimes those plays somehow wind up going against us. So
think back to that Colts game a couple of years ago, where Matt clearly his whole arm was going forward. The ball goes forward, but down in the ground. They're like, "Oh, that's definitely."
The Cardinals game last year, the play with Kyler Murray. It was the receiver. They call it a catch, but the receiver like clearly dropped the ball. And
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I think they threw a deep ball. Receiver like tries to catch it, falls, and like the ball gets knocked out somewhere and like never completes the catch, and they wind up calling it like a touchdown or something. I would have to go back and look at it, but yeah, I do remember it was a terrible call and it made a difference in the game.
Well, as an Atlanta fan, you always get that feeling that the call is just not going to go in your favor.
I never expect one to go our way ever.
Yeah.
But I was from at first glance, I was like, that's a catch. But then as soon as when they started dissecting, I was like, well, maybe not. But I think it was a catch just because the ground didn't really affect.
Right. The ball didn't move when it hit the ground.
Yeah.
It stayed in his hand. So yeah, Kiki flying all around, playing that enforcer role that we've been waiting for him to see. And I think those first couple of games, like we've been saying, is he was uncomfortable. He didn't quite trust his injuries yet. But the big play in that third quarter was the hit on Teddy Bridgewater. Charles Harris, who, I'd actually like to keep. The way we've played him all over the field and the things we've asked him to do, he's played exceptionally well for us. Yeah. He hasn't made a huge play for us yet.
That was a huge play. That was an MVP moment. It was like, dang, bro.
That's what I'm talking about. Hit him in the head.
Right, because I was like, this dude barely ever really makes an impact, but he impacted the game right.
I mean, we've dropped him out in pass coverage. We've done a whole lot of things with him. He's done really well for us.
But it didn't really hurt to lose him, you know what I mean?
Right. It's like, oh no, there goes our backup left end.
Right. And that one dude came in confident as hell. He was spinning it, man. That dude from Temple. Like he was
PJ?
He was wildly inaccurate, but he was spinning that thing.
Oh, PJ Walker's gonna spin it. That's what he's gonna do.
And he can run too.
But like, you talked about Charles Harris. I have to mention another player who hurt us early in the game, Keith Smith. And like I'm like, bro, you get so many stupid penalties, but the only thing I can't knock, because he did make some great blocks on that last drive to get us in the end zone. So it's like, all right, bro, if you could cut out the stupid penalties, you'd be solid. Oh, and the lack of hands, those bricks you call hands.
That man.
And while we're talking about the second half, I think it's a good opportunity to say how bad Todd Gurley looked. until he scored that touchdown. But man,
he had
slow.
6 carries for 4 yards there for a little while.
Man, he's slow. Jeez.
Well, he looked. I mean, he looked uncomfortable all game.
Uninterested is what he looked like.
And then like he get a run, get tackled in the backfield. He kind of, you see him wince a little bit, hop up, and then just run straight off the field. And I'm like, bruh.
That one play where he got plastered, just threw the ball in the air like Soldier Boy, or threw like Bobby Shmurda.
Brian Hill actually looked fairly good. I think this might have been his best all-around game so far this season.
Yeah, 5 yards a carry for him.
Yardage wise, like total yardage wise, he might not have been his best, but he was solid. He
did drop that one easy out.
He did that one route in the flats, and like, bro, you got to catch that.
Yeah, because he would have got like 7-8 yards on that play.
And we saw Quadri this game.
Yeah, like I'm for more.
I think they're gonna start using him more.
I mean,
he looks
now
good
that
every time you run.
we tend to be a run first. I think
they're gonna start using them more. But between Spelling Gurley and they said Brian Hill has a tendency to occasionally miss some pass pros. So I think they're going to start trying to use Quadri, mix him in a little more. Not to mention he's by far our biggest back. So
he's huge.
Those third and short plays, you might see him get some carries in there.
Let's see what they have him listed at. They got him listed at 6'1", 232.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, that's a big boy. But I feel like a pivotal moment in the game that I noticed, and I saw like, the sphincter started tightening a little bit on our side, was on that.
The pucker factor went up.
Yeah, the pucker factor went up. It was like when it was 14-16, same exact situation as the last game. It was a 4th and 1, and they were like, "Wait, should we go for it? Should we go for it?" And then they called the timeout, and then they ended up kicking it. It's like Arthur called down. It's like, no, don't go for it.
Arthur was just sitting there like,
take the points. But it was just funny that it was this calamity. It was like, oh, they had to call the timeout, and then no one knew what they wanted to do, and it just looked so bad. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, like that could have gone 2 different ways there. It's like, I thought you wanted to be aggressive,
right?
Now you don't. So it's like, where's the indecision? Yeah, that was one note I definitely put down. Like, this point in the game could be interesting,
right,
depending on how this game turns out. Another thing I want to bring up is how big of a weapon, because we're finally starting to learn how to use Hayden Hurst, and how big of a short down conversion weapon he is. And those little play action rollouts where he gets outside of whatever linebacker or safety that's on him, man, he's dangerous.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He put that shoulder on that one fool.
Woo! He came up feeling himself. He was doing a little Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for his future. The only thing that kind of sucks is we got him at 28 because he is an older player. He came in after his little stint in baseball. So he's a 28-year-old third-year player.
But tight ends can last. That's one of the
but not speedy ones.
Yeah. Well.
When you rely on speed.
I mean, I think he's a big enough of a body and athletic enough where he could be, because even Greg Olsen relied on speed early in his career, and he just kind of transformed into more of a possession guy later. But he's still, all right, now you sleep on me, I'm gonna run by you.
By the way, speaking of tight ends and sleeping on them, did y'all see that video of George Kittle?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He's the friendliest trash talker or the nicest trash talker ever.
No.
Yeah, sweet days, man.
Yeah, that's, if you haven't seen it, that's one you definitely need to go watch. One thing in the fourth quarter, it was really the late third and the beginning of the fourth, was we saw a lot of Brian Hill in this game, and it could have been due to effectiveness, but when Hill was in the game and running it, he wasn't getting much either. But I think what they were doing was trying to preserve Gurley for that grinded out time in the fourth quarter. use him as that big back that can really wear down the defense, and when the defense is tired, to run through tackles.
Right.
So hopefully that is what they were doing, and it wasn't an injury, or it was just like, hey, let's try this. Let's just try Brian Hill. Hopefully, there's
Todd
a little
Gurley
more
didn't
purpose
look
to it.
injured. He just looked like he was just very
malcontent.
Slow. Yeah, he looked a little malcontent. He was very slow, and he looked like maybe he was a bit in his feelings. But I don't know. We'll probably get to that point, but I do want to talk about the other gaffe he almost made.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
But fourth quarter, you saw Gurley come back in and really start to get some yardage there and get some lanes, but also Debo continued to blitz so well. Man, he was like, you would see Teddy snap it, and then a half second later, he's turning around and trying to spin and run for his life because Debo is just flying up the gap, going full speed at him. Like, I think I commented from our Twitter that Dan Quinn's sitting at home going, man, I really should have blitzed Debo more.
Bruh,
every time.
But not even just that, but Debo and Foyer, because every time we blitz one of them, they both almost always got through. Teddy Bridgewater tried to run away from him, but Teddy with his 4.6, 4.7, 40, he's not outrunning 4.4.
Yeah.
So on the fourth down play, he tried to stiff arm it and outrun Foyer to the sideline. Foyer's like, bro, no.
Do you know who I am?
like, bro, you slow to me. I'm just going to take you out of bounds.
There's only two, maybe three quarterbacks that can outrun our linebackers.
Right. Like Russ,
Kyler, Lamar, maybe Russ.
Yeah,
definitely Russ.
Russ is quick. He's not straight line. He's not a burner. But he's shifty.
He's slithery.
Yeah, and he'll get you in a position where he can just run right around you.
He knows angles. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. But I wonder what it would be like watching a game with non-coach DQ. It's like, does he sit there and like say that the same things we do? It's like, yeah, like, oh my God, why are they not blitzing? It's like when he's actually coaching, he's like, I
just think DQ was so tied into like, this scheme works. I know it works, and you just guys aren't executing it the right way.
Right. Yeah.
And Ulbricht's like,
to the scheme.
Look at all these toys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Micah.
But as great of a game as Ulbricht called, he did make me nervous though in that fourth quarter, and in that last drive.
It started off. He started with the prevent.
It was one play in particular, that 3rd and 17, where it's like, all right, why is everybody so far off the ball? And then we have 4. It's like, all right, we're gonna rush 4. Oh, they dropped the 8th in the coverage. Ah, crap! And then you see what was it?
DJ Moore.
Yeah, DJ Moore runs right by Terrell, and it's like, oh no. And
a little bit stronger arm quarterback, that'd have been trouble.
Yeah. Like, bro, that could have been a disaster. Like, bro, stop doing that. Just stay aggressive.
Teddy Bridgewater is basically Sam Bradford with mobility.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford was trash.
Sam Bradford is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history.
Sam Bradford rarely threw the ball more than 10 yards downfield.
I mean, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't really. I
remember when we played him and he was quarterbacking the Eagles. He legitimately was. It was nothing but drags and slants. It was like the Saints offense, and then they ran for like 200 yards against us, and it was just like, dude, he legitimately 3-step drop, and as soon as he hit that 3rd step, the ball was coming out of his hand. He never threw the ball downfield.
I mean, Teddy really does either.
Yeah.
He took some shots against us.
I mean, he's gonna take shots, but that's not his tendency. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan takes shots too, but
are
they effective?
That Curtis Samuel pass was one of the most beautiful throws I've seen.
It was a pretty throw.
That was a spicy dot.
But yeah, let's talk about the end of that game. So DJ Moore decided to come out of hiding there in the fourth quarter and made the game a little more exciting than it should have been.
It was funny when Troy was like, "I'd like to say they've been trying to do something special."
I was like, "Thanks, Troy,"
but they haven't.
Thanks, man. Or you could say AJ Terrell has done an excellent job mirroring DJ Moore, but let's not say that.
Right.
Well, he didn't follow him all game.
He covered him quite a bit. I would like to see the.
Well,
the
I know he was on Robbie Anderson a lot too.
Yeah,
he did a good job. Even though he had some glaring mistakes, he did a good job throughout the game.
I think he spent more time on Robbie when Sheffield was in the game, because I think they acknowledged the size mismatch, the size difference in the first game. Boy. So when Sheffield was in, they tried to put AJ on Robbie and then put Kendall on DJ Moore because he can run with them. And there were a couple times when DJ went to the slot, they just let Oliver stay with them.
Yeah.
But typically when he was in the slot, they didn't try and go vertically with them. They just tried to run him on drags, which Oliver's okay on those kind of routes typically because he knows he has help. But when you start to challenge him vertically, it's just like, oh crap, I can't run with this guy.
Speaking of size, Neal looked gigantic against a lot of those receivers he was covering.
They don't really have. I mean, Robbie's their biggest guy. It's like 6'3", but everyone else is like 5.
Yeah, but even still, he might not even be 200. He's like 6'3", like 195.
Yeah, he's a real skinny guy.
Yeah, he's real. They got him listed at 6'3", 190.
Damn. Yeah, that's a rail.
I mean, that's the reason he's got all that speed. He's not pushing any weight.
Right.
Like a tall Juan Pierre.
For real. So yeah, DJ Moore comes alive, makes that big catch. We seal the game up with a Blitty Ray Wilson interception on a I don't know what Teddy was trying to do with that ball. Honestly, it's like he thought his arm was stronger than it was. And that
but not before some drama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't feel like
when
that uneasy feeling in my stomach.
Well, I feel like that's gone with Dan, but still, like when Todd Gurley ran out of bounds with 3 minutes left, he definitely gave them a chance, to put something together. Luckily, Teddy could not, complete anything. And
Atlanta's own
defense did what they're supposed to do.
Mike Conte was not a fan of that. I think Mike Conte's a pretty even-keeled guy and usually doesn't get too
company guy.
Yeah. And boy, he took to Twitter real quick when Gurley ran out of bounds.
Right. Like Gurley, what goes through your mind? Like,
I just think Gurley doesn't have great situational awareness, man.
Right.
Well, we talked about the touchdown last week, and looking back at it, like when they showed the replay, it was like, bro, you shook off the last tackle at the 5.
Right.
And you couldn't stop.
It was really bad. It's almost like, did you do this on purpose for a touchdown bonus or something?
I need more yards.
Yes.
I'm trying to get all the yards I can get.
Because it was egregious. Like, it's almost like, how do you do that by accident unless you have like a grade 3 concussion?
It's like, I'm just gonna keep leading the league in rushing. That's the rushing touchdowns. It's my goal.
Right. I mean, I'm
25.
sure there's some type of touchdown incentive that he gets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying it looked intentional. When you look back at the replay, like it looked that bad where it's like, wait a minute, bro. Like, what the hell?
Well, yeah, like thinking about like last week, watching it last week to watching it again this week. Last week it was like, yeah, I mean, it was one he broke his momentum, carried him in. Now it's like, bro, you legitimately had 5 yards to put the brakes on.
15 feet.
They grabbed you, just go down.
or you could have done like Deshaun Jackson did that one punt return where he beat the Giants and just run down the 1 yard line.
Right. Just lay down.
Like kill a little more time.
He could have switched hands with the ball and like ran this way, dude. He got his momentum back and then pulled it back in.
Yeah, that was one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
That is a lot to ask. All right, so let's do this to wrap it up. Let's pick out your favorite play of the game, and then give a game ball to whoever you would like. So favorite play of the game, biggest play, however you want to qualify. That's your choice. And then a game ball. Whoever wants to start it off, you can have it.
You go, Micah.
Ooh, that's tough. Man. Favorite play of the game was probably the third down stop. That 3rd and 1 where no. Oh, the 4th down where Mike was I can't ever remember their running back's name.
Adams. Mike Davis.
Where Grady gets pressure and Foye just flatlines flattens the blocker and Mike Davis.
He stone cold stunned him.
That was probably my favorite play of the game. Because it was either that or that the 4th down play with Teddy. Game ball is actually tough because I'm torn between Debo and Foye because both of them made so many impactful plays on defense, and that like they pretty much between the two of them, they held the Panthers offense like just to as little points as possible. They were the ones they were the game changers in my opinion. So hell, I might have to do 2 game balls. Just find give me another ball out of there. Y'all both get one.
Go for it, Marco.
My favorite play of the game was probably it was bittersweet because right when the play that right before Matt threw that pick when Teddy like scrambled back and then got met by 2 of our players and got down at the 50 and took them out of field goal range.
Oliver and Foye.
Yeah, only for us to come right back around. And that was probably my favorite play just because that intensity marked, something that we just hadn't seen. And it carried through. Usually we might get flashes, but that carried through the rest of the game. That physicality and putting that pressure on the quarterback. And my game ball goes to Julio just because the way he was going like a slot receiver. He's going through the middle, like he was like, carving up the middle of that defense, for the sake of getting our offense rolling. And even Matt's touchdown, his rushing touchdown, which is also a candidate for favorite play of the game. He opened the whole right side of the field up just by doing a drag across the middle. And, I got to give the game ball to Julio.
I was going to say how it kind of shows how great Julio is when he goes 7 for almost 140. And it's kind of like, meh. Yeah, that's Julio. My favorite play of the game was definitely the 4th down stop by Foye, just because I'm a Foye homer. These 2 guys know that the year we drafted him, I'm watching him in camp, I was like, guys, y'all might want to watch number 54 because watching his camp tape, he was impressive. 6th round pick from Yale, man. No one saw that coming.
Right.
But yeah, I would say game ball goes to Jeff Ulbrich, in my opinion, just because how differently, the cornerbacks were a weakness for us in the first couple games, and the complete change in scheme. I'll just say scheme as a whole. He's now put pressure on the quarterback, and the corners don't have to cover for 4 seconds anymore. So Jeff Ulbrich definitely gets the game ball for me. Defense won that game all day because the offense going getting 6 red zone trips and only getting 2 touchdowns out of it. Typically that's a surefire way to lose.
Yeah.
But the defense held tight, gave up 17 points in the entire game, 3 points in the second half. So Jeff Ulbrich, you're my game ball winner. Falcons, good job. Raheem Morris is one Todd Gurley stumble away, and not going for it on 4th and 5, call away from being 3-0 as our interim head coach. And it made me feel a little bit better looking on that sideline, seeing Raheem Morris wearing his 11s. I'm like, it's kind of nice to have a coach with a little bit of swagger to him instead of Dan Quinn over there looking like, well, gosh darn, I'm mad, guys. Gee golly, let's make some plays.
Just a goofy vibe.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. We gotta embrace the suck.
So
the bear is loose.
God, I'm so glad the Quinnisms are gone and dead.
And in much respect to Quinn, if you're ever listening to this, we really like you, man.
I loved what you did for us.
Maybe one day we'll have some beers, but man,
here's the thing. As a coach, as the way he coached our team, I'm not a fan. But the talent that he brought, especially on the defensive side of the ball,
boy, he's got nice talent.
It's like if there was any way we could keep him in the scouting department, I'd love it. But just
make him our GM.
I wouldn't.
That's strong. That's strong.
Yeah, head of scouting.
Yeah, like make him because he has a clear eye for talent on defense, and like we have some athletic freak players. But I will say this though, my only frustration with that game, it typically my frustration always goes to the offense, typically, because like it was just I see a lot of times I see wasted opportunities, and I'm like, for an offense as talented as ours, we shouldn't have quite as many wasted opportunities as we do. Like I said, we kicked multiple field goals inside the 10-yard line this game. So it's like you get down in the 10 and you can't punch it in at all. Like, come on, man. We have to be more efficient. And I'm like, this game should have been a blowout. It shouldn't even have been, an 8-point game. We should have won, 38 to 17. It should have.
I will say this though, because when it goes wrong for them and we blame them, for making bad decisions, we criticize them for that. So I'd say when you get the win, it's like it really doesn't matter how you get it. If it took, like you said, it does suck that we kicked all those field goals, but that 4th and 1, say we went for it and we didn't get any points, or say we went for it and still ended up with 3. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like if you can win, minimizing your risk, do that.
Well, I get what you're saying, but my thing is, I view our offense as an elite caliber offense. Talent wise, we are an elite caliber offense, but way too often, and our defense has talent, but our defense isn't this elite, it isn't an elite unit. But so many times this season, it's come down to our offense stalling out on multiple drives and putting it in a situation where the defense had to make a stand. And it's like, bro, why can't the offense just be the unit to say, we're going to ice it. We're going to put this game out of reach. We're going to make sure the defense, we don't have to rely on the defense. We're going to step up and we're going to take responsibility and take over games so they don't have to.
Young Ho missed the extra point.
That too. But that last offensive drive, I'm like, if you get a field goal on that last offensive drive, the game is over. Well, I won't say it's over, but it becomes an 11-point game with probably, it would have been probably something around 2 minutes or so left. And it's like, all right, and they would have had to use more. They would have had to use their timeout. So, it would have been a completely different situation. And it would have been more pressure on them to try to make the comeback.
Well, I'll end it with this. It is what it is. And we got the W, though.
What it is.
Yeah. So, we got a dub. Went up on the road, got a dub in hostile territory. And we saw some promising things from this team. So now that leaves us with the Broncos coming up next week and about 10 days till we get to see our Falcons again. So it'll be a nice little break, give us a little gap in between these things and get back on our regular schedule here. So For those of you who joined in live on YouTube, thanks for watching. And for those of you who will be watching later, we appreciate it. We also do a weekly podcast. You can find us on all streaming platforms. We are Fish and Grits, the podcast. Make sure to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. I am Ryan Dollar. These are my co-hosts,
Micah.
And we appreciate all of you, and we will catch you later.